Did it happen on the road? Or somewhere else entirely? Nobody in Ozark, Alabama could answer that for 24 years. July 31st, 1999. A black Mazda 929, parked on Herring Avenue. Windows up, doors locked. No driver. A paperboy passes it twice that morning. Doesn't think twice. By 9:30, police do. Inside, 2 purses. Cash still in them. A driver's license on the dash. The keys, gone. It takes almost 4 hours to find the trunk release. Hidden behind the back seat. No key needed. Just a lever. They pull it. J.B. Beasley, 17 years old that day. Supposed to be her birthday. Tracy Hollett, her best friend since cheerleading. Northview High. Both shot once in the head. Both still inside the trunk. 9 hours earlier, they were just looking for a party. Somewhere between Dothan and a bonfire, they took a wrong turn. Then another. By 11:35, they were 20 miles off course. Standing at a payphone outside a store that had already closed for the night. Tracy called her mother, said they had directions now, said they were on their way. No fear in her voice. Nothing off. They never made it home. The party they were driving to, depends who you ask. Police say Headland. Her mother says it was never Headland at all. Whoever's right, it doesn't explain how 2 girls who knew their own hometown ended up somewhere they had no reason to be. Before we get into it, most of you won't subscribe. That's fine, but subscribing is what keeps this channel doing the digging, the court records, the interviews, not guesswork. Comment where you're watching from. I want to see how far this one travels. Now, let's get into it. Ozark, Alabama. Population around 15,000. J.B. Beasley was born in Troy, this same date, in 1981. Moved to Dothan with her mother a few years later. Danced. Modeled some, with her sisters. Her dance teacher would later say she was always in a class, a rehearsal, a game, never still. Tracy Hollett lost her father at 4, a Dothan police officer. Her mother remarried a man named Mike Roberts. He raised her like his own. Tracy was a majorette, a 4.0 student, taught Sunday school. They met at Northview High, cheerleading. Didn't take long. July 31st, 1999. JB's 17th birthday. Tracy finishes her shift at JCPenney a little before 9. JB's already waiting. Back to Tracy's. Change. Out the door a little before 10, in JB's black Mazda 929. A gift from her father. She kept it spotless. There's a party. Somewhere north. A field. A bonfire. A few dozen kids from school. They don't know the roads well enough to find it. Around 10:30, they stop for directions. Get back on the road. Somehow end up more than 20 miles in the wrong direction. Ozark. Neither one has any reason to know this town. By 11:30, they're parked outside the Big Little convenience store, already closed. A woman named Marilyn Merritt is in the lot with her daughters, buying a soda. JB and Tracy ask her how to get back to Highway 231. Merritt gives them the directions, right out of the lot. Left onto 231. She'll remember them later as polite. Neat. In a car that looked freshly cleaned. Tracy finds the payphone at the front of the store. Her mother picks up at 11:35. Tracy tells her they took a wrong turn. Never found the party. Got directions home. Says it plain. Nothing in her voice that would make Carol think twice. They tell each other they love each other. Carol goes to bed around 12:30. Merritt watches the Mazda pull out. Turn right. Exactly the way she told them to go. That's the last anyone sees them alive. Here's what doesn't add up. Police would later tell reporters the girls were headed to a party in Headland. Carol Roberts says that's wrong. Midland City, a different town, a different direction entirely. 2 agencies, 2 destinations. Neither one explains why 2 girls who knew their own hometown ended up 20 miles past it. A paperboy passes the same spot twice that morning. A black Mazda, parked on Herring Avenue. Nobody in it. By 4:30, maybe 5 o'clock, Carol Roberts wakes up. The stove light's still on. Tracy isn't home. She wakes Mike. He's in the car within minutes. Ozark, the last place Tracy said she was. Checks the ditches. Looks for a wreck. Finds nothing. Carol calls both hospitals. Calls the state trooper's office. Calls JB's mother, Cheryl. Cheryl already knows. JB isn't home either. By 9:30, Ozark police find the Mazda. Less than a block from Dale County Hospital. No damage. No forced entry. A Dothan investigator arrives sometime between 10 and 12:30. Looks through the windows first. JB's license on the dash. Both purses still on the seats. Cash, jewelry, credit cards, untouched. The driver's window cracked a few inches. Mud across every panel, though there's no mud anywhere on this stretch of dry, paved road. The tank, filled the day before, almost empty. The keys are the only thing missing. Nobody can get into the trunk without them. So the investigator waits, runs the plates, waits some more. Nearly 2 in the afternoon before someone remembers the interior release lever. No key required. He pulls it. Both girls are inside. Each shot once. Tracy in the temple, JB in the cheek. Fully clothed. Pants soaked and muddy from the waist down. On a day when the ground around that car hadn't seen rain in weeks. One shell casing on Tracy's leg. The second is never found. Tracy was placed in the trunk first. JB after her. Blood beneath the car shows it kept moving after they were already dead. Herring Avenue isn't where this happened. It's just where they were left. Robbery gets ruled out fast. Nothing of value gone. The first autopsy finds no drugs, no alcohol. In 1999, examiners report no signs of sexual assault. For 2 months, that's the whole case. A double homicide. No motive, no suspect. Then the state crime lab runs a second test. 2 months pass. Then the Alabama State Crime Lab sends back a second report. Semen, recovered from JB's bra, her panties, her skin. The first exam missed it. 1999 forensics weren't built to catch what this test caught. This wasn't a robbery. It never was. Cash still in the purses. Jewelry untouched. Whatever brought someone into that car, it wasn't for the keys. There's something else. A palm print, lifted off the inside of the trunk lid. Someone touched that lid bare-handed, while 2 girls were locked inside it. 2 separate pieces of physical evidence. Same crime. Maybe the same man. District Attorney David Emery says it straight to a reporter. You have to assume this came out of a sex offense. Find who left that semen, he says, and you've found the killer. So investigators run it. Check the Alabama database. Nothing. Check CODIS, the FBI's national index, every profile from every person ever arrested or convicted anywhere in the country. Nothing. The DNA is complete. Clean. It belongs to exactly one man alive. No database on earth has ever heard of him. Never arrested. Never convicted. Never given any police department in any state a reason to have his information on file. As far as every computer system in the country is concerned, this man doesn't exist. The answer is sitting in a lab, sequenced, verified, waiting on a name nobody can attach to it. A reward goes up, 15,000 from the community, 10,000 more from the governor's office. In a town this size, word moves fast. September 1st, 1 month, almost to the day. A 28-year-old Ozark mechanic named Johnny Barentine walks into the police station. Says he saw something that night. 4 hours of questioning. His story changes 6 times. First, a black truck speeding off Herring Avenue, then a stranger he gave a ride to. By the last version, Barentine says he watched a man force 2 girls out of their car, heard 2 gunshots, then drove that same man away from the scene. Police arrest him. For a few days, Ozark thinks it's over. Then the gaps show. In 6 versions of his story, Barentine never once mentions anything sexual, the one detail this whole case turns on. The neighbor he names has an alibi for the entire night. His DNA comes back. Not a match. He admits it. Made the whole thing up. Wanted the reward money. A grand jury declines to indict him. Released. Months spent chasing a man who was never there. Other names go the same way. A man from Michigan, in Ozark that same night. Can't account for 3 or 4 hours of his own timeline. Leaves town within days. Investigators fly out 3 separate times. DNA clears him. A man from Mississippi. Staying with relatives nearby. Gone 2 days after the body's surface. Tracked down in Jones County. Swabbed. Cleared. Then there's the truck. Security footage from inside the Big Little store. Footage that never once catches the girls themselves. Shows a small white pickup at the pump the exact minute Tracy is on that payphone with her mother. No transaction on record. Nobody seen getting in or out. Police release the image. Ask the public to name it. Nobody ever does. The truck, and whoever was driving it, are never seen again. Every lead in this file collapses the same way. A name surfaces. Weeks pass. Sometimes months. Every time, the DNA says no. The only thing in this case that hasn't lied yet is sitting untested against a name nobody has. The case goes cold. Not forgotten. The file stays open. The DNA stays in storage, exactly as clean as the day it was collected, just cold. Every few years, someone runs the profile against a slightly bigger federal database, just in case. Every few years, nothing. Carol Roberts doesn't get that kind of quiet. She'll tell a reporter, years later, that she hasn't slept through a full night since July 31st, 1999. Not one. She wakes up hearing her daughter scream. It isn't the anniversary that's hardest, she says. It's the ordinary days, holidays. A chair at the table that stays empty every single time. Mike Roberts, the one who drove the back roads himself that first morning, looking for a daughter who wasn't his by blood, but was his in every other way, never misses a hearing. There's rarely anything to hear. He goes anyway. The technology keeps improving, the databases keep growing, but CODIS only holds DNA from people who've been arrested or convicted. This man has never been either. He could be standing behind Carol Roberts in the checkout line, and every system in the country would look straight past him. A generation of kids in Dothan grows up never hearing the names J.B. Beasley or Tracy Hollett, except as a story their parents tell every summer, around the same date. 19 years since that phone call. 19 years since Carol went to bed believing her daughter was almost home. In California, a case with no connection to Alabama at all is about to break wide open. Cold cases don't stay quiet. Not really. In 2015, this one got loud. A woman named Rena Crum, a sworn Ozark auxiliary officer, came forward with a different story. She said an Ozark police officer had pulled JB over that night. Said it wasn't random. Said it was about cassette tapes, recordings that could tie officers to a cocaine operation, tapes set to become evidence in a court case scheduled for August 2nd, less than 48 hours after the girls were killed. Crum named 3 officers, accused a former police chief of helping bury it. Said she'd been threatened for speaking up. A journalist covering her claims wrote that she'd been beaten with a baseball bat to keep her quiet. She never named who she said actually pulled the trigger. Every officer she named denied it. No physical evidence ever connected any of them to the murders. In 2016, 5 of those officers sued Crum and the journalist for defamation. The claims spread anyway. True crime forums, blogs, message boards, all repeating a story, never substantiated by a single piece of evidence. If you've heard this theory before, drop where you first heard it in the comments. I'm curious how far it traveled. The lawsuit was dismissed in 2018. In August 2022, under oath, Crum recanted every word of it, 23 years after the murders, and the closest thing this case ever had to a break wasn't a conspiracy, it was still just DNA with no name attached. April 2018. A former police officer named Joseph James D'Angelo is arrested in a quiet Sacramento suburb. The Golden State Killer. At least 13 murders, dozens of assaults, across 2 decades. Free the entire time. Never in CODIS. No record connecting him to any of it. What finds him isn't a database search for a suspect, it's a database search for his family. Investigators take the crime scene DNA and run it through GE Deadmatch, a public genealogy site where ordinary people upload their own DNA just to trace their ancestry. The search doesn't return D'Angelo. It returns distant cousins, people who share small fragments of his DNA without knowing a thing about him. From those fragments, a family tree gets built, branch by branch. Thousands of names narrowed down to one. In Alabama, Ozark Police Chief Marlos Walker is watching this unfold with more than professional interest. He's thinking about one file in his own department. A semen sample, sequenced, sitting 19 years without a name attached to it. He picks up the phone, calls Parabon Nanolabs, the same company behind the D'Angelo match, sends them the 1999 sample, asks them to build the tree. 5 months pass. Early March 2019. The results come back, a list of surnames, all sharing DNA fragments with the crime scene profile. Walker starts reading. One name stops him, not because it connects to anything in the case file, it stops him because he knows it personally. McCraney, a name from high school. The man is 45, lives about a mile from Herring Avenue, graduated the same year as Walker, from Carroll High School in Ozark in 1992. Air Force veteran, 1993 to 1997. Long-haul truck driver, co-founded a church, married, with 2 kids. No criminal record. Never on any investigator's radar. Nothing in 20 years that would make a single person in this town think twice. Walker doesn't call him in as a suspect. That gives a man a reason to lawyer up. or disappear. Instead, he calls an old classmate and asks for a favor, a voluntary sample, to help broaden the search. McCraney asks if he needs a lawyer. They tell him no. He calls his wife. She tells him they have nothing to hide. He sits down, lets an officer swab the inside of his mouth. What he doesn't know, sitting there calm, a man with nothing to worry about, is that this isn't broadening anything. The tree already pointed at him before he walked through that door. The lab results come back unambiguous. McCraney's DNA is a direct match to the semen recovered from JB's clothing, not a distant relative on a family tree. His. March 15, 2019. Police arrest Coley McCraney, charge him with capital murder and rape. He denies everything, says he doesn't know either girl. Was never in Ozark that night. 4 years pass before trial. COVID pushes it back. Then, in August 2022, too few people answer their jury summons, and it gets pushed back again. April 2023. 24 years after that phone call, the case reaches a jury in Dale County. McCraney takes the stand himself. His story now looks nothing like his 2019 denial. He says he met JB at the Wiregrass Commons Mall, months before the murders. That she told him her name was Jennifer. That they planned to meet that night at the Ozark gas station, and when his truck's alternator failed, and he coasted into that same lot, he ran into her there. What happened in the cab of his truck, he says, was consensual. Says the girls drove him home afterward, around 12:45 in the morning. Says that was the last he saw of them. Asked why he told police in 2019 that he'd never even met her, he says he was afraid his wife would find out. There's no record, no call, no text, no witness placing McCraney and JB in contact before that night. Marilyn Merritt, the woman who gave them directions in that parking lot, testified they were focused on one thing, getting home before curfew. Nothing about waiting to meet anyone. Then the state calls his wife. Jeanette McCraney had sat beside him in 2019, encouraging him to cooperate with police because she believed there was nothing to hide. Now she's under oath. She tells the jury their front door had a security chain, locked every night at 11:30. Whoever was outside after that had to be let in. July 31st, 1999. Coley left the house around 10, said he was going to his mother's. Didn't come back until 12:45 in the morning. When she let him in, clean, dry, no mud, no scratches. Nothing that would suggest a struggle in a wet, muddy field. 20 years of marriage, 2 children, a ministry they built together. And she's the one placing him at the scene, at the exact hour it happened. April 26th, 2023. Guilty. All 4 counts. The next day, life in prison, without parole. When the verdict's read, Carol Roberts doesn't move, doesn't speak. For a long time, nothing at all. Cheryl Burgoon breaks down the moment she hears the word guilty. From prison, in a phone interview, McCraney says they can call him a cheater. Call him whatever they want, not a killer. The verdict feels like it should be the end. It isn't. Carol Roberts still doesn't sleep through the night. She still wakes to what she describes as her daughter screaming. A sound that's been sitting in the back of her mind since 1999, long before there was a name to attach to it. Having a name hasn't stopped it. It's never the anniversary that's hardest, she says. It's the ordinary days. A holiday table. A chair that's been empty for 24 years now. Cheryl Burgoon carries a different weight. Not grief that softened with time. Anger that never did. In the courtroom, she said it plainly. It hurts. And she's angry. And she doesn't expect that to change. Mike Roberts, married to Carol 36 years. The one who drove the back roads himself the morning Tracy didn't come home. Who sat through every hearing for 2 decades with nothing new to hear. Called those years exactly what they were. Pure hell. Less than a year after the verdict, he was gone. 74 years old. He'd held on long enough to sit in that courtroom's front row and hear a jury say guilty. Not much longer than that. A guilty verdict doesn't undo any of that. It just means somebody finally has to answer for it. 2 girls left for a party that never happened. 20 miles off course. A car with the doors unlocked. Cash untouched on the seats. A license still sitting on the dashboard. The only thing missing that morning was a set of keys. Nobody ever found them. If you'd walked past this man at a gas station, at church, in line at the store, would you have looked twice? Tell me what stood out to you most about this case, and where you're watching from.